They threw 12,000 tons of orange peels in a forest. 16 years later, they returned to see the results. Daniel Jansen and Winnie Hallwakes had graduated from a reputed university and wished to focus their career on protecting the environment. An opportunity came knocking on the door when they made a deal with a fruit juice company to dump their waste on a conservation site. At first, it seemed bizarre and irresponsible, but 16 years later, when a team went to check the site, they were stunned. A conservation site is meant to protect the environment and all the living things that thrive inside it. However, when two ecologist men decided to let a company dump their waste inside the area, many voices rose against it. But by that time, the fruit juice industry had already dumped 12,000 tons of orange peels and pulps. 16 years later, when a team of experts went to see the site, their jaws dropped. The idea that those two men had envisioned had unbelievably turned into reality. Reportedly, the story took place back in 1995, when a fruit juice company named Del Ora had set up its factory near the conservation area. The area was located between Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and a conservation organization was also looking to acquire the place for preservation purposes. Two ecologists named Daniel Jansen and Winnie Hallwakes worked in that same organization. They came up with an incredible plan that would not only benefit nature but also the company. According to them, it was a win-win situation and they were confident that the company would not say no. The deal was that Del Ora would be allowed to dump their waste on the conservation area in exchange for the land. However, the contract wasn't simple. There were certain terms and conditions that the company had to keep in mind. The first one was that only agricultural waste such as orange peels and pulps would only be allowed to be dumped. Second, no kinds of chemicals or pesticides would be used on their crops. Third, the pulps would be washed off with limonene oil. And finally, they could only dump in an area assigned to them. Apparently, the part of the conservation site that was given to the company was previously used for cattle grazing, and also the quality of the soil was poor. The fruit juice company had no problem agreeing to all the conditions, even though they thought it was bizarre. Time passed, and gradually loads of trucks would enter the site and dump tons of agricultural waste on the assigned land. Approximately 12,000 tons of orange peels and pulps were thrown, and suddenly everything stopped. A rival company came to know what Del Ora was doing and decided to use this opportunity to throw the competitor out of the market. They began to spread the news that the company was damaging the natural surrounding. The rival fruit juice industry even filed a suit against Del Ora and won the case. The losing team had no choice but to stop dumping their waste as per the orders, and the site was forgotten for almost 16 years. After those long years, fortunately, a research team read about this experiment and the whole story behind it. So they decided to go and visit that dumping place and record the result, whether those two ecologists' ideas bore any fruit or not. When they reached the area, the team was completely taken aback. The orange peels and pulps had vanished and instead, a thick forest has formed. The experts were lost in the jungle and had a difficult time finding the land, not realizing that they were walking in the dumping area. The team then noticed a yellow strip wrapped around the vines, and then it clicked to them that the degraded land had turned into a jungle. All thanks to Daniel Jansen and Winnie Hallwakes, who thought of such a brilliant idea. Their experiment was a success. Because of the agricultural waste and the conditions followed by the company, the once barren land had now turned into a forest. The quality of the soil improved as a result of different species of trees and other living beings being discovered. When asked about how was this possible, the experts could not give a definite answer, and the transition of such an experiment still remains a mystery. In an interview, one of the researchers said, "I strongly suspect that it was some synergy between suppression of the invasive grass and rejuvenation of heavily degraded soils." Turns out, everybody won in the end. not only the ecologists or the company who happily left their waste on the land. Although dumping waste on the site meant for protecting nature is not advisable, the clever way those two ecologists used yielded a greener result. Most of the people who read and heard about the experiment wish that such techniques could be used in future as well to protect nature and the world.